Hello everybody. Today I'm going to be showing you how I made this kitty litter box cover. I don't know. It is inspired by someone else's video, which I will link down below. Alright, this is what you're going to need. So these corner braces are completely optional. I will say you don't exactly need them. This is scrap fabric, and then you also need any yarn of your choosing. So these are the measurements that I used to cut out the lattice board. The whole board is 8 by 4 feet, and this is kind of how I divided it up. Feel free to pause it if you need to, but you're just gonna need to measure your board out and divide it like this. Had to have my uncle help me with the beginning part of this tutorial, but I will recommend that you do measure out your board because mine was not exactly 8 by 4 feet. So you wanna keep the ratio the same as my little sketch, but yeah, make sure that the measurements are correct with the exact measurements of your board. And he is using this cutter that is specific for plastic, which I definitely recommend that you should have. One thing that I have learned though in the past about cutting plastic is I'll just take like a box cutter and a candle and I'll heat up the box cutter blade and I'll just slowly make my cuts that way. It takes a lot longer that way versus using this tool, but I know not everyone has access to that, so that's kind of the easier option. Alright, now we got all the boards cut out. So now I'm going to be marking the hole that my cat will be able to go in and out of the cover with, and I'm just marking 6 inches from each edge on one of the smaller pieces that is the 2 by 2 feet boards. And you can also change the measurements of your hole too. It's literally whatever you want, so don't feel like you have to follow like this measurement and shape exactly. And then we're gonna just repeat the process, just gonna cut that out. Alright, now that all the boards are ready to go, this step is completely optional. If you do decide to use the corner braces, this is what you're gonna have to do. So I'm just measuring where each brace is gonna go, and I'm marking it with a Sharpie, and then I cut out the holes separately before putting everything together.
I ask you about love, but they quote me a sonnet. You'd never looked at a woman and been totally vulnerable. Oh my God.
You also want to make sure that when you're drilling, put something underneath, so that way, like for me, I was doing it on my floor. But I don't want to make a hole in my floor, so that's why it's important to have something underneath. So I'm going to repeat the same steps with the hinges. And you're only going to be putting this on one side. The hinges are not an optional step. You're definitely going to need those. And I'm just slowly putting everything together, side by side, corner by corner. Again, if you don't use the corner braces, that's totally fine. I have another option available. So now I'm just attaching the hinges to the one side so that way I can open and close from the top. Alright, and then I'm just taking an old nail file that I have, and I'm just going to be smoothing out the edges where my cat is going to be going in and out, just because it's really jagged and I don't want it to scratch her or hurt her in any way. So this is what you can do if you don't decide to use the corner braces. I basically just triple knotting every hole together With this material, you can't just only have corner braces. You can do corner braces and the yarn, or you can just do only the yarn. I found that without the yarn, it was really flimsy. I also think that this definitely could have been better had I had the budget to buy a better material. There's this same type of board but made out of wood. I didn't really have the means to buy it or saw that or anything. So that's why I opted for the vinyl board. It was just better for my budget. It would definitely be more stable if you have the wooden board. And I think it'd also be easier to put together, and you might just be able to get away with only using corner braces that way. So now I'm taking that scrap fabric and I'm just going to glue it so that it's just this really cushiony piece of cloth. I'm basically going to be using this to kind of cover the screws from the inside, because I noticed that the screws that I bought were a little bit too long and they're kind of poking out, and I just didn't want to take a chance of my cat scratching herself. So I just wanted to cover them. Yeah, it doesn't really matter the color because it's on the inside, but it's totally up to you, whatever you decide to use. So I'm just going to be gluing that to wherever the screws are poking out. So now the last step is I am tying some longer strings, one on each shorter end and 3 on the longer side. This is what is going to keep it held together. If you want to, you can use some type of latch. So my setup, I bought a litter mat. I have my scooper and I have a little bucket to put the bags in. And her litter box, super easy. The mat fits in there perfectly too, which is nice. Cat can also chill on the top of it, as my cat is doing. Or if your board is made out of wood, you could even put plants or whatever you want on top of it. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys.